I want to bring in our guest, Congressman Steve Cohen. He's a Democrat from Tennessee. Congressman, I appreciate a few minutes tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome, Richard.
So I know a lot takes to surprise nowadays, but the rumor mill is certainly churning out that we could actually see the head of the CDC get fired for, I guess, promoting science. Does even this reach the level of bizarre that can actually still surprise you?
Well, nothing can surprise me with Trump. Trump has a very, very thin grip on reality and a very limited amount of knowledge of the government process and history, and certainly no level of understanding of decorum, morals, or ethics. So yes, he's could do anything, and we're fearful he could try to change the date of the election, which is not within his power. It's up to the Congress. That he could challenge the election. He will do anything to keep power.
Well, on the subject of Congress, Democrats passed the latest stimulus bill, and it's regarded as being DOA once it gets to the Senate. I saw one Republican who said that the problem with this package is that it's a recipe for prolonged recession. Representative Brady said it went on to say it's got virtually nothing to get the jobless back to work, and Democratic special interests in millionaires get a windfall. Other Republicans said you're making this such a sweet cushion here. People won't want to go back to work because they'll have it so good because of the package. What is the division right now between Republicans and Democrats on the Hill, given everybody acknowledges money's running out real fast for millions and millions of Americans?
Well, there's a big difference in the Republicans basically do what Trump tells them. Trump was okay with CARES 1, which had in the $600 extra for unemployment compensation, which is, I guess, what Brady was referring to as people having it so well on unemployment they wouldn't want to go back to work. Well, they voted for that. The HEROES bill had in money for the emergency development fund, where SBA can make some loans to people that businesses are endangered and hampered because of a business disaster. And that was in the first CARES bill, too. Much of what was in that bill we already had in CARES 1. We had $25 billion for the post office. The first one we had $10 billion for the post office. And the post office needs that. We have money for testing, tracing, and treatment. We have money for testing. We have money for healthcare workers for protective equipment, PPE. They voted for most of it. And some of the things they didn't vote for, they didn't vote, Republicans, any of them, to join us in a repeal of a $100 billion this year tax break for millionaires and billionaires that McConnell and Trump snuck into CARES 1. Nobody, I don't think, really knew about it. If they did, I don't know if anybody did know about it on the Democratic side. It was a big bill, and the Republicans drew it, and it gives 80% of the people who get the relief, they make $1 million a year or more, and the relief will come to a total of $100 billion. It has nothing to do with coronavirus. It has to do with hedge fund people and real estate investors getting a windfall that was taken from them in 2017 in the Trump tax bill as a way to say, look, we're doing something that is reform in this bill. Now they've taken it away and make it unlimited ability to write off those losses.
I want to play a soundbite from the president on the subject of oversight, and specifically why he terminated the Inspector General at the State Department. This is what the president had to say this week.
I don't know the gentleman. I was happy to do it. Mike requested that I do it. Now, I don't know anything about the investigation, but you just tell me about walking a dog and what'd you say, doing dishes?
Saudi arms deals, sir.
What Saudi arms deals? Explain.
Congress passed a law to restrict sales to Saudi Arabia over certain arms out of concern over their use in the Yemeni crisis. So the question is whether Secretary Pompeo tried to subvert the deal with actions that he may have taken on the
I don't think so.
Congressman, what scares you most about that exchange? That the president was going to fire an Inspector General because the person that he was investigating didn't want the guy looking into what he was doing, maybe abusing his office and even going around you guys as it relates to the Saudi arm deal, or that the president found absolutely nothing wrong with it and the idea of a check and balance is going. He went on to say, well, he was appointed by Obama, so definitely should be fired just in the very face of it. You know, explain on a broader level to our audience why you need checks and balances like inspector generals for folks to say, oh, it's just another day in Washington, why it's not, and why this is a dangerous road for us to go down.
Well, the founding fathers set up a system of checks and balances: executive, legislative, and judiciary, three equal branches of government. And then legislative, of course, you have the Senate and the House, and they're equal too. So it makes it difficult really to get much change done, and there are checks and balances. Oversight is vested in the legislature, oversight of the executive. And the president has refused to go along. He doesn't believe in oversight. Apparently, this particular IG was either looking at abuse of office by having personnel in the State Department do personal chores for Mr. Pompeo, or going around Congress, which had forbidden sales to the Saudis, and doing it. Either way, it's wrong. And Pompeo today said he didn't really know the guy, and he didn't know anything about the investigations. But as I understand it, he was sent questions by the Inspector General to answer, and so he obviously did know. He lied to the world and said he had no idea what the investigation was, or if there was any investigation at all. So we need investigator generals to give us a check and balance within the system. And that was Watergate reform, and he's getting rid of all the investigator generals, putting his own people in, and they know that if they say anything at all, that their head's on the chopping block. So that's effectively killing the intent of the investigator general and the reforms of Watergate.
There was an exchange yesterday where Speaker Pelosi pointed out, obviously, on the hydroxychloroquine after the president shocked all of us with his comments. She made a comment on why it wasn't safe for the president. Here it is.
I would rather he not be taking something that has not been approved by the scientists, especially in his age group and in his, shall we say, weight group, what is morbidly obese, they say. So I think it's not a good idea.
Congressman, she clearly has got real estate in his head. She knows how to get in his kitchen on this stuff. I get it. This is a broader question. I struggled with this. We talked about this yesterday at the program. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of an economic crisis, probably something the closest approximation to the Great Depression potentially. And then he comes out with something crazy with hydroxychloroquine. Then he talks about, Joe Scarborough being involved in the murder conspiracy. Then my point is, every day there's 3 or 4 shiny objects. Should the speaker, should the media, do we at our own detriment go down that road because he's playing us like a fiddle trying to distract from the bigger issues? Or if you don't address the fact that the president is going against what our own FDA is saying is dangerous potentially for the American public, we do a disservice to the American public to let it go unchecked. How do you handle this the right way?
The press and members of Congress who are willing to speak truth to power are more important than ever. Always important to speak truth to power, always important for the Fourth Estate to shine a light on government and government excesses and misdeeds. But more now than ever, because we've got an administration that doesn't know the truth, won't speak the truth, doesn't respect or appreciate science. And we've got a United States Senate that, with the exception of Mitt Romney and occasionally Charles Grassley, is totally supplicant to the president and not being in any way of a check and balance, but doing whatever he says. And so the country's really in a danger. There's a lot that's going on that we're going to find out in time that's going to blow the minds of the Trump supporters who think this guy can walk on water. All he can do is try to bottle water and sell it as Trump water.
Well, it's never dull. I'll give you that. Congressman, I certainly appreciate the time you gave us today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Richard. Nice to be with you.